Railway worker films a crucifix, then passes away hours later. In August 2023, a railway worker named Michael Zanera experienced something that would later be spoken about with a mixture of awe, mystery, and sorrow. While carrying out routine welding work on train tracks in northern Italy, Michael witnessed a formation that he believed carried deep spiritual significance. As sparks flew and molten metal fused the rails together, a glowing red shape appeared within the weld itself. To Michael, the image was unmistakable. It resembled a crucifix. He had worked on railway lines for years and had never seen anything like it before. The formation was clear, vivid, and striking against the darkened steel. Feeling both unsettled and compelled to document it, he took out his phone and recorded a short video. The moment felt important to him, almost as though it had been placed there intentionally. Later, he shared the clip online, posting it to social media where it quickly drew attention. Alongside the video, Michael wrote words that reflected his state of mind at the time. He expressed that God definitely wanted to tell him something. He explained that it was the first time he had ever seen such a symbol appear while welding rails. Friends and viewers who saw the post noticed a deeper tone within his message. He admitted that he had been calling out to God every day lately, adding that it was not a good time for him personally. Less than 24 hours after sharing the video, tragedy struck in a way that many would later describe as chilling when viewed alongside his final post. Michael and several colleagues were conducting overnight maintenance work on the Turin to Milan railway line near Brandizzo, on the outskirts of Turin. The team had been tasked with replacing sections of track during the quiet hours of the night. As they worked along the line, a train transporting wagons approached the area at high speed. The collision that followed unfolded suddenly, leaving 5 railway workers gone in an instant and others injured. Emergency services later confirmed the scale of the incident, expressing deep sorrow for the families affected. Investigations were launched to understand how such an event could have occurred during scheduled maintenance operations. Michael, aged 34 and from Vercelli, was among those who lost their lives that night. The final video he had posted only a day earlier began circulating widely, with many viewers revisiting his words and the crucifix formation he had captured. To those who believed in signs and premonitions, the timing felt impossible to ignore. Colleagues and friends reflected on his faith, describing him as a devoted Catholic who often turned to prayer during difficult periods. His message about calling out to God took on new emotional weight in the aftermath. For many, the glowing crucifix in the welded rail no longer appeared as coincidence, but as a moment layered with spiritual meaning. The incident left a lasting impression not only because of the lives lost, but because of the haunting connection between Michael's final post and the events that followed. The image of the red crucifix, formed in fire and steel, became a symbol that many interpreted as a message, a warning, or a moment of divine presence witnessed in an ordinary workplace setting. Mysterious dogman photo. In recent months, a mysterious photograph has surfaced online that has reignited widespread fascination with one of North America's most enduring cryptid legends, the dogman. The image, uploaded anonymously to several cryptid discussion forums, quickly captured the attention of researchers, enthusiasts, and curious observers alike. Its unsettling composition and the secrecy surrounding its origin have combined to create a renewed wave of belief that such a creature may truly exist within the remote wilderness of the United States. The photograph itself appears to show a tall, canine-like figure, partially concealed behind trees in a dense forest setting. The creature's form is shadowed, yet distinct enough to make out key features. Observers have pointed to what seems to be an elongated snout, upright posture, and broad shoulders covered in dark fur. Its stance suggests awareness of the photographer's presence, as though it had paused mid-movement to observe from concealment rather than flee. Lighting within the image adds to its eerie atmosphere. Sunlight filters through branches and foliage, illuminating parts of the forest floor while leaving the figure cloaked in shadow. This contrast has made the creature's outline appear even more pronounced. Many who have studied the photograph closely believe the positioning behind the trees indicates deliberate hiding behavior, reinforcing long-standing reports that the dogman is both intelligent and cautious when near human activity. Equally compelling is the anonymity of the uploader. The individual who shared the image refused to provide any identifying information, offering no name, location, or contextual details about when or how the photograph was taken. Attempts by forum moderators and independent researchers to trace the file's origin have yielded no results. Metadata appears stripped, and the account used to upload the image was reportedly created solely for that single post before falling inactive. This veil of secrecy has only deepened the intrigue. Without a verifiable source, skeptics find it difficult to disprove the image, while believers view the anonymity as understandable caution. Within cryptid research circles, it is often suggested that witnesses choose silence to avoid ridicule or unwanted attention, especially when encounters involve creatures outside accepted zoological classification. The resurfacing of dogman imagery has reignited discussions of historical sightings stretching back generations. Reports have long described a towering wolf-headed biped roaming forests, particularly in remote regions where human presence is sparse. The newly circulated photograph has added visual weight to these accounts, encouraging renewed exploration into whether such beings might inhabit deep woodland territories undetected. Mysterious silver orb crashed in Australia. In the vast rural stillness of the Australian countryside, a discovery has recently emerged that has stirred deep fascination and unease among those who have seen it. Resting quietly on open farmland is a huge metallic silver sphere, its surface smooth, reflective, and eerily pristine. The object appears entirely out of place against the earthy tones of grass, brush, and fencing that surround it, as though it arrived from somewhere far beyond the familiar boundaries of the region. The eyewitness who first encountered the sphere described the moment as deeply unsettling. From a distance, the object seemed almost luminous under the daylight sky, reflecting its surroundings like polished chrome. The witness, overcome with a mixture of awe and apprehension, chose not to approach too closely. Even from several yards away, the sphere's presence felt unusual, radiating a quiet stillness that was difficult to explain. Estimated to measure between 4 and 5 feet in diameter, the object is large enough to command attention, yet compact enough to appear deliberate in its design. Its near-perfect curvature suggests precision far beyond anything naturally formed. There are no visible seams, rivets, or structural joins. Instead, the sphere appears as though it were shaped from a single continuous piece of metallic material. One of the most mysterious aspects of the discovery lies in its apparent arrival. According to the eyewitness, the sphere did not break apart or fragment when it landed. There were no scattered pieces, no signs of impact damage, and no visible disturbance to the surrounding ground beyond minimal compression of grass beneath it. This has deepened speculation about its origin, as conventional falling objects typically show signs of stress or deformation. As of right now, no clear explanation has been offered regarding what the sphere may be or where it came from. Mysterious security camera apparition. This unsettling image captured on the Pitt family's home security camera has left the household in a state of lingering unease, raising chilling questions about what may have passed silently through their home in the early hours of the morning. Recorded inside their residence in York County, Pennsylvania, the photograph shows a strange, human-like figure standing partially within the doorway of the kitchen, its form dimly illuminated by the camera's night vision. Though the image itself is grainy and shadowed, the outline of a head, shoulders, and upper torso is unmistakable, creating an atmosphere that feels deeply unnatural. According to homeowner Amanda Pitt, age 34, the encounter began on the 21st of October, when she was abruptly awakened by the sound of heavy footsteps moving through the house. The steps, she later explained, seemed deliberate and weighty, travelling up the stairs, across the living room, and into the kitchen area. At first, she assumed one of her children had gotten out of bed during the night. Wanting to be certain, she quietly checked each of their rooms, only to find them all fast asleep. Unease began to settle in when she realised no one in the household could account for the movement she had heard. She then reviewed the live feed from the family's security system, expecting perhaps to see a pet or a shadow triggered by shifting light. Instead, she noticed something far more disturbing. Standing in the kitchen doorway was a figure that did not belong to any member of the family. Alarmed, Amanda woke her husband, Jeffrey, also aged 34. He immediately searched the entire home, moving room to room, checking doors, windows, and entry points. There were no signs of forced entry. Nothing was damaged, displaced, or missing. The house appeared undisturbed, as though no outsider had physically entered at all. The only unusual behavior came from their dog, Ollie, an English shepherd known for his calm temperament. That night, however, he paced anxiously throughout the house, unable to settle, as if reacting to a presence invisible to human eyes. Amanda later revisited the footage, studying the frame where the figure appeared. The still image she captured showed the entity standing motionless, its face faintly reflective in the infrared light. The longer she stared, the more real it seemed. What makes the photograph so deeply unsettling is not just the figure itself, but the absence of explanation. No entry, no disturbance, no trace, only the image, the footsteps, and the dog's distress. Mysterious apparition captured in squirrel cage jail. This photograph, captured inside the historic Squirrel Cage Jail in Council Bluffs, Iowa, has become one of the most discussed paranormal images associated with the location. Taken during a nighttime investigation in February of 2013, the image appears to show a tall, shadowed figure standing silently along the second-floor walkway of the facility. The atmosphere within the photograph feels heavy and still, the dim interior lighting casting deep contrasts that make the dark silhouette all the more striking. The Squirrel Cage Jail itself carries a long and storied history. Constructed in 1885, the rotating cell block facility operated for decades before ultimately closing in 1969 due to safety concerns. Over the years, the structure developed a reputation not only for its unusual architectural design, but also for the lingering presence many believe remained within its walls. Today, the building serves as a museum, drawing historians, tourists, and paranormal researchers alike, many of whom report unexplained sensations and sightings during visits. The image in question was taken using a Kodak EasyShare 12-megapixel digital camera. The investigator who captured the photograph had been documenting the second floor when the image was snapped. At the time, nothing unusual was visible to the naked eye. It was only upon later review that the dark figure became apparent. Standing near the railing, the silhouette appears unnaturally solid, despite the low light conditions, its form darker than the surrounding shadows. Extensive analysis has since been conducted on the photograph using multiple enhancement and filtering methods. Despite these examinations, no signs of digital manipulation, lens distortion, or environmental interference have been identified that could account for the figure's presence. The image has remained consistent across all reviewed versions, reinforcing the belief that what was captured existed within the frame at the moment the photograph was taken. Jail staff and historical researchers have connected the apparition to records of a former guard who once worked within the facility. According to documented accounts, the guard experienced a tragic mishap while attempting to regain control during a prison riot. Since the jail's closure, numerous visitors and investigators have reported sensing a watchful presence along the upper walkways, an observation that aligns closely with the location where the figure appeared. Those familiar with paranormal classifications quickly identified the silhouette as resembling what is widely referred to as a shadow man, more specifically, the Hatman. This type of entity has been described in sightings across the world for decades. Witnesses often recount seeing a tall, dark figure, sometimes outlined by what appears to be a wide-brimmed hat, standing motionless in doorways, hallways, or corners of rooms. The figure in the Squirrel Cage Jail photograph closely matches these long-standing descriptions. Its height, posture, and apparent head shape suggest the presence of the hat. The stillness of the form, combined with its placement along the railing, gives the impression of silent observation rather than movement. Now displayed within the museum itself, the photograph has become a focal point for visitors. For many, it stands as visual confirmation of the jail's haunted reputation. Creepy image captured in a former morgue. What began as a joyful birthday celebration has since transformed into a deeply unsettling mystery for one family after a strange detail was discovered within a photograph taken that evening. The image, captured during what appeared to be a completely normal gathering, shows a woman standing at the center of the celebration, surrounded by decorations, soft lighting, and loved ones. At the time the photograph was taken, nothing unusual was noticed. The atmosphere was warm, festive, and filled with laughter as the family commemorated the special occasion. It was only several days later, while reviewing the event photos, that the family's attention was drawn to something they had not seen before. Behind the birthday woman, partially concealed by her shoulder and the backdrop, appeared the faint but unmistakable figure of another woman. The figure's face looked pale and expressionless, her presence oddly still compared to the liveliness of the surrounding scene. Her positioning seemed deliberate, as though she were peering out from behind the celebrant rather than simply standing nearby. What made the discovery even more disturbing was that no one present at the party could recall seeing this individual. The guest list had been intimate and well known to the family. Every attendee had been accounted for, and no photographs taken from other angles showed the same mysterious figure. The woman's appearance seemed confined solely to this single frame, heightening the sense that her presence was not part of the physical gathering. As the family sought answers, they began researching the history of the venue where the celebration had been held. It was then that another chilling layer of the mystery emerged. Unbeknownst to them at the time of booking, the hall had once served a far more somber purpose. Historical records revealed that the building had previously functioned as a morgue many decades earlier, before being renovated into an event space. This revelation cast the photograph in an entirely new light. The idea that the faint figure may be connected to the building's past quickly took hold among those who examined the image. Paranormal enthusiasts who later viewed the photograph noted the figure's subdued expression and shadowed presence, suggesting it resembled what is often described as a residual apparition, an imprint believed to linger in places marked by intense human experiences. The family, once comforted by memories of the celebration, now view the photograph with mixed emotions. While the birthday itself remains a cherished moment, the unexplained figure standing silently behind the guest of honor has left a lasting impression. Nazca archaeological discovery. A remarkable archaeological discovery has recently emerged that is sending ripples of fascination through both historical and anthropological circles. Tomb raiders exploring an undisclosed burial region uncovered a collection of ancient stone carvings whose features bear a striking resemblance to the mysterious Nazca mummies that have drawn global attention in recent years. The carvings, preserved within subterranean chambers long sealed from the surface world, were later shown to researcher Alan Perez Munoz, whose reaction was one of profound astonishment at the similarities. The stone figures appear to depict elongated humanoid forms with distinctly proportioned heads and slender bodies. Most notable, however, are the hands. Each carving displays 3 extended fingers, rather than the 5 typically associated with human anatomy. The digits are long, tapered, and symmetrical, matching the exact hand structure documented in the Nazca mummies. This anatomical consistency has become one of the most compelling aspects of the discovery. Scholars examining the carvings have noted the deliberate craftsmanship involved in their creation. The figures are not crude or abstract. Instead, they appear intentional, almost reverential, as though the beings represented held cultural or spiritual significance to the civilization that produced the artwork. Their posture, facial shaping, and limb proportions suggest observation rather than imagination, leading some researchers to believe the carvings were modeled after real entities once encountered. The discovery has taken on even greater significance as additional cave and rock paintings have come to light in nearby regions. These ancient artworks also depict 3 fingered beings, often shown standing upright with elongated heads and narrow torsos. In several panels, the figures appear alongside human forms, suggesting interaction or coexistence rather than mythological symbolism alone. Researchers have begun drawing connections between these artistic depictions and the physical remains attributed to the Nazca mummies. The congruence between skeletal structure and carved imagery has led some to argue that the mummies are not isolated anomalies, but part of a broader historical record. If ancient artists across different sites documented the same anatomical traits, it strengthens the argument that these beings were once present and observed. Particular interest has centered on the possibility of discovering skulls with matching proportions within the same excavation zones as the carvings. Should cranial remains surface displaying the elongated shape and structural features consistent with both the mummies and the artwork, it would provide an additional layer of corroboration linking physical evidence with cultural representation. The mystery of the Hopkinsville goblin. It is believed that the Hopkinsville goblin is an extraterrestrial species of unknown origin that was first encountered in the United States, in the small town of Hopkinsville, located in the state of Kentucky. The creature is not an individual entity, but rather a collection of similarly described humanoid figures that were encountered by the residents of the Sutton farmhouse, located nearby the town of Kelly in Christian County and the town of Hopkinsville. The creatures were described as being between 2 to 4 feet tall and possessing large pointed ears, hands that looked closer to that of claws, large eyes that glowed a yellow hue, and thin, spindly legs. Reported in detail on the 21st of August 1955, there was an impossible-to-explain incident that led to researchers theorizing that a previously unknown description of strange beings, later provided with the name of the Hopkinsville goblins, had landed nearby a Kentucky farmhouse and made first contact with a family of 12, and demonstrated malevolent behavior that manifested into a vicious attack lasting for several hours. According to the police reports surrounding the incident, the Hopkinsville Police Department reported that 5 adults and 7 children entered the police station with erratic behavior, having been described by the officers as appearing to be distraught and in a panic. The group of adults and children then reported to the police department that they had been in a gunfight lasting for more than 4 hours, after a group of small alien creatures had come out of a nearby spaceship and began to attack them at their farmhouse. According to 2 witnesses of the event, 2 adults by the name of Elmer Sutton and Billy Ray Taylor, they claimed that there had been somewhere between 12 to 15 short humanoid figures that had repeatedly made an appearance at the doorway and peered in through the windows. In fear for their lives and unsure of what the creatures wanted, the invading creatures forced the family to open fire to prevent the unknown creatures from entering the home. As they would shoot the creatures, the witnesses claimed that the unknown monsters would make a loud pinging noise that sounded like the bullets were ricocheting off a metallic surface, causing the creatures to then fall to the floor momentarily, only to roll away and get back up after several seconds. Once revived, the creatures would resume trying to enter the home and make further attempts to enter through windows or doorways. The rest of the family provided a series of descriptions surrounding the creatures that they had believed were extraterrestrial beings, claiming that the small monsters stood at roughly 2 to 4 feet in height, had large pointed ears, claws for hands, and enlarged oval-shaped eyes that gave off a luminous yellow glow. Fearing that the shootout could have been evidence of neighboring families suffering from mass hysteria and attacking each other in the dark, the officers worked quickly to investigate the claims made by the Langford family. This led to the police department sending a total of 11 men, 4 city police, 3 deputy sheriffs, and 4 military police to the Sutton farmhouse to conduct an official investigation on the matter, leading to the officers discovering evidence of the gunfights, bullet holes, and clawed attempts to enter the home carved against the doors and windowsills. Police Chief Russell Greenwell reportedly found a glowing luminous stain nearby, a fence on the property. Conflicting reports made by the military police claim that police officer Richard Digby discovered the luminous stain. However, the compound was not gathered or tested for scientific study. A few hours following the investigation, the family would pack up their belongings and leave the farmhouse entirely. According to the family, their reason for their sudden departure was that the creatures had returned at around 3:30 in the morning and tried to re-enter their home once again. Events described as according to the Langford family's official police and subsequent news reports. The location of the incident took place at the Sutton farmhouse, owned by Mrs. Glennie Langford, located at the Gaither McGehee property found on Old Madisonville Road, Route 41 of Kelly, Kentucky, 8 miles north of Hopkinsville. The witnesses of the event totaled 11 people. Mrs. Glennie Langford, age 50, her youngest son Lonnie Langford, age 12, her eldest daughter Charlton Langford, age 10, her youngest daughter Mary Langford, age 7, her second son John Charlie J.C. Sutton, age 21, John Sutton's wife Aline Sutton, age 27, Aline Sutton's brother O.P. Baker, approximate age 30, her eldest son Elmer Lucky Sutton, age 25, and Elmer Sutton's wife Vera Sutton, age 29, Elmer Sutton's co-worker Billy Ray Taylor, age 21, and Billy Ray's wife June Taylor, age 18, totaling 8 legal adults and 3 children. It was a late Sunday evening, and the 3 families, the Langfords, Suttons, and Taylors, were passing the time by playing cards and telling funny stories after dinner. The visiting co-workers had asked if there was any Kentucky moonshine or bottles of beer available for them to enjoy, but Mrs. Glennie Langford admitted to the visitors that she was a very strict religious follower and would not allow any form of alcohol to enter her home or be consumed in her house. Desperate for something to drink, Billy Ray Taylor went out the back door of the house with a bucket and made a short trip to the outdoor pump to retrieve a few gallons of well water. It was at this time, originally reported to have been sometime around 7 in the evening or 8 in the evening when accounting for modern scheduled daylight savings time that took effect after 1955, that Billy Ray Taylor noticed what he described as a streak of bright light that moved across the sky coming from the southwest toward his location. Many unidentified object reports erroneously mistake the time of day as pointing towards evidence of a hoax, believing that the sun would not set for another 36 minutes, and so the streak of light was caused by a reflection of sunlight off nearby clouds. However, when taking into account that the original sighting report time would have been around 8 in the evening by modern daylight savings time conventions, the sun had set over 24 minutes prior to the sighting of the bright streaks. As the unexplainable light flew closer, Billy Ray Taylor claimed that he could see what he described as a large disc-shaped object with a variety of colors emitted from its rear landing several fields over, beyond the tree line, disappearing about a quarter of a mile away. In the distance, however, the faint glow of a bright yellowish light could be seen. Surprised by the sudden appearance of the craft, Billy Ray Taylor immediately fled back into the house and told the others what he had witnessed and said that they should all go investigate the craft together. Believing that Billy Ray had mistaken a falling star for an aircraft, the others dismissed his claims and told him to calm down. Another hour went by as the three families continued passing time together before they began to hear the family dogs breaking out into sporadic barkings and violent squeals. Worried for the canines, Elmer Lucky Sutton went outside to investigate the cause of their sudden barking, joined by Billy Ray Taylor, who had grown increasingly hysterical after his sighting of the unidentified flying object only moments before. It was at this moment that the two men claimed to have witnessed a strange creature slowly approaching the house, causing the dogs to flee and crawl underneath the house for protection. Panicked by the sighting, the two men ran back into the house and immediately began arming themselves. Armed, Elmer Sutton exited the farmhouse and stepped out onto the front porch with Billy Ray Taylor close behind. Illuminated by the light of the house, the two men could more accurately see the strange creature and described it as being approximately 3 to 4 feet in height with an enlarged head and long, sharply pointed ears on either side. The eyes of the creature were described as being positioned more on the sides of the head and emitted a faint yellowish glow. The creature had long, thin arms that reached almost to the ground that were equipped with long, webbed fingers that ended in sharp, pointed claws on the tips of its fingers. Its legs were described as being abnormally short as the creature appeared to have floated above the ground. The rest of its body gave off a faint reflective glow, as if it was encased in a protective layer of finely polished metal. Mrs. Glennie Langford would later provide the testimony that she had witnessed the strange creature lift its hands above its head as it approached the house. Believing the creature to be raising its hands in peace, she told the two men not to fire at the creature to allow it to approach closer. Whether or not the two men had heard Mrs. Langford, however, is unknown, as the two men opened fire on the creature, causing it to flip over backwards when struck by the bullets. The witnesses claimed that the sound of the bullets hitting the creature was similar to that of a bullet striking the side of a metal bucket. Immediately after falling to the ground, the metallic creature rose back to an upright position and ran off into the darkness, using an odd form of motion that the witnesses reported came from the hips and not from the motions of its legs. The two men and Mrs. Glennie Langford returned to the house and told the others what they had witnessed and began to arm themselves with whatever weapons they could find around the house, which included several rifles, shotguns and pistols, alongside enough boxes of ammo to hold off a small army. As the three families were in the living room of the home discussing what they were to do next, they noticed a metallic creature of similar design suddenly appear in the window, trying to peer into the house as if making an attempt to enter the home by force. John Sutton then fired at the living room window, causing the creature to fall backwards and hit the ground. Believing now that they were under attack, Elmer Sutton and Billy Ray went outside to check the perimeter of the house to make sure that the creature was gone. After Elmer had stepped off the porch and onto the front grass, with Billy Ray close behind, Aline Sutton noticed a long, clawed hand reaching down from the porch's rooftop towards Billy Ray Taylor's head. She screamed for him to look up and to watch out for the creature's hand. At this point, Billy Ray Taylor was pulled back into the house by Aline Sutton, and Elmer Sutton turned around and began firing at the creature on the rooftop from the front yard, knocking the creature off the roof and disappearing into the nearby weeds. Billy Ray Sutton then began to realize that there was more than one creature and exited the house while pointing over at the property's adjacent tree line. Elmer Sutton and Billy Ray noticed another creature of similar design hiding in the nearby maple tree. The two men opened fire on the creature, which jumped down and slowly descended onto the yard before it moved away from the house and deeper into the tree line, with its hips swaying in a strange motion and its short legs floating above the ground. Billy Ray and Elmer Sutton chased the creature further into the tree line, firing after it until it was away from the property a significant distance. When they returned to the house, they claimed to have seen another of the metallic creatures peeking around the side of the farmhouse, looking as if it was trying to find a side window to enter through. The two men fired at the creature until it was on the ground, which echoed the sound of metallic strikes, and began to approach the creature as they continued firing. Before the men could get too close, however, the creature levitated back up to an upright position and escaped. Spending another 20 minutes outside the home, looking around the property and the rooftop of the house, the two men noticed another metallic creature on the top of the house, and so began to fire multiple shots at the creature until it began descending 40 feet away from the rooftop and hovered over a fence located on the property. Chasing the creature, the two men went after the creature while firing, forcing the monster off the property as it fled away into the darkness. Failing to find any more of the creatures on or around the house, the two men re-entered the home and told the others what they had seen, and that the single creature was more accurately a group of creatures. The children were told to stay under the beds, while the adults argued about what they were going to do and whether or not what was happening was some kind of elaborate prank being pulled on each other by other members of the house. More than 20 minutes passed without any sign of the creatures returning, at which point the family began to realize that their weapons were ineffective against the monsters and would not be able to repel them for long, and so decided that hiding in different areas around the house would be far more effective, in the hopes of waiting out the creatures until the morning arrived. While the occupants of the house waited, switching between hiding places and crouching by the windows and doors, the sounds of scratching and clawing would emanate from the rooftop. Before long, Mrs. Glennie Langford would scream to the men that she could see through the window that one of the metallic creatures was approaching the front door of the home and making an attempt to enter the house. Reacting quickly, Billy Ray Taylor opened the front door and fired several rounds through the screen door, completely destroying the lining of the screen door and causing the metallic creature to fly backwards onto the front yard. Mrs. Glennie Langford would later provide the testimony that the metallic creature that approached the front door had a design that differed greatly from the other reported metallic creatures, describing the creature as having the barrel-shaped body of a shiny silver 5-gallon kerosene can, supported by two skinny legs that touched the ground with a large head attached to the top of the body. Her description of the creature appears to imply that the creature was artificial in nature and possibly a metal automaton. As time passed, the surrounding metallic creatures made several more attempts to enter the house, appearing in windows and approaching the front door, but were warded off with gunfire at each attempt. The residents of the house estimated that at the height of the invasion attempts, there were somewhere between 12 to 15 of the metallic creatures at any one time, but reports themselves show that the attack could have been caused by two metallic creatures making repeat appearances. After several hours of the attack had passed, the three families began to worry that they would not be able to hold out for much longer and began making attempts to conserve what remained of their ammunition, which was running thin. It was at around 11, a total of 3 hours after the invasion began, that the family made their first attempt to evacuate the home and contact the police. After planning out a thorough route that the 11 residents of the farmhouse could take together as a group to Elmer Sutton's and Billy Ray Taylor's car, the children and the wives quickly started to pack necessary belongings and prepared for their journey to the vehicles. When the attack slowed down, the adults formed a protective layer around the children, with the three armed men forming an outer offensive perimeter as they moved together as a group to separate vehicles. Once everyone was inside the vehicles, the families drove together to the nearest police station, 8 miles away in Hopkinsville. Many of the witnesses that had a direct and clear line of sight of the Hopkinsville goblins described the metallic creatures as demonstrating a peculiar form of flight capabilities. Rather than walking on the ground with a standard form of locomotion, they hovered only a few feet above the ground. When dropping from tree lines or rooftops, the creatures would slowly descend to the ground, only to hover several feet above the ground, as if the creature was not capable of having a prolonged form of flight at a height greater than several feet. Due to their metallic nature, the artificial glowing eyes, the strange body shape, and the unexplainable form of levitation, it is believed that the Hopkinsville goblin is a robotic entity created and used by the nearby unidentified flying object for an unknown purpose. Such purposes could include a peaceful first contact, alien-human abduction, or hostile wartime actions. If it is to be believed that the creature is a robotic entity, then the hovering abilities are most likely caused by a mechanical form of flight that does not make significant noise, such as lighter-than-air processes or ionic propulsion, or both. Reports show that officers discovered a luminous liquid material near the fence line of the property, which matches the claims made by Elmer Sutton and Billy Ray Taylor of firing at one of the creatures as it hovered over the fence. The luminous material provides evidence that the makeup of the creature is artificial in nature, and a form of coolant or oil could be made luminous for ease of repair, as a luminous compound would be easy to spot, and the coloring could be an easy indicator of which system might be leaking.